Hi, a relatively tough session today. We're going to be moving quite fast, doing quite a few exercises and getting a bit tougher towards the end. We'll start off quite slowly to warm things up though. So we'll get on the mat, lying on your back. Lying flat on your back, just relaxing through the upper body, just doing the usual setup of tilting that pelvis forwards and backwards and just finding that middle ground, so that those ASIS bones, the front of your pelvis, are pointing straight up. You've got that soft curve in your back, so you're not too flat, you're not too arched, you just got that middle ground. So your lower back's comfortable. Engage through the core to lock that in, that big transverse abdominis muscle all the way around. Your weightlifter's belt is drawn in, so you're strong through the core, and you're breathing laterally, sideways, in and out, through the chest. Your shoulders are relaxed, your scapula is heavy on the mat. And we're just going to bend the knees so the feet are flat on the floor. Taking that breath in, staying engaged through the core. As you exhale, we're going to just lift the right foot and just slide it out just above the mat. So it's like a heel slide or a leg float. So your heels just grazing the mat and switching sides, locking into that pelvis, not letting the pelvis drop forwards with the weight of the leg. The only thing that's moving is the leg itself. Your upper body is staying locked in, engaged and solid. And we're just going to do 2 more on each side. Just simple. Exhale to extend. Inhale to draw back. One more on each side. We're just warming up those hip flexors, warming up the core and the abs. And last one on this side. We're going to continue through that, but we're going to alter it slightly by just coming up into ab prep, just lifting the arms just up off the mat. So you're engaged through the core, you're drawing the abs in and up, and just lifting your shoulders and back just slightly off the mat. Doesn't have to be much. Keeping your head up, but not lolling back. And exhale to extend the leg slowly with the breath. Don't rush this. Speed is not going to engage the muscles in the same way as taking your time with it. We're looking for stability and strength, not speed and explosive movement. Just keeping in that ab prep, trying to hold yourself at that same level. So don't sink back down to the mat. Lift up if anything. We're going to do 2 more on each side. Exhale to extend the leg. Inhale to draw it back. Point the toes at the end and reach through the leg. 1 more on each side. And just relaxing slowly back down to the mat. We're going to just take the legs out straight this time. And we're going to go into single leg lifts, one at a time, bringing the other one to meet it and down, and then switching sides. So if you start with the left leg, up, up, down, down, we're then going to lead with the right leg. So a little bit of coordination in this as well. So just getting yourself set on the mat, relaxing through that upper body, engaged through the core. Keeping that pelvis in check. Don't let your legs make your pelvis move around. Stay solid through the upper body. Take a breath in. I'm going to exhale, lift the left leg, point the toes to about 45 degrees and bringing the right leg up to meet it, lowering the left leg and lowering the right leg. Try not to take your feet down to the ground at all throughout the next 8 reps, 4 on each side, and switching sides to the right, up to 45, up to 45 and down. Picking it up a bit. Try and match your breath to your movement. And remember to lead with a different leg each time. It's a bit challenging. You'd think it'd be simple, but it does challenge your coordination a little bit to remember which leg went with which. And we're just going to do one more on each side. Last one. And just lower down to the mat. And just hug your knees into your chest if you need to just relax those hip flexors off, relax the abs off very slightly. And we're going to come on to our right hand side. So rolling through onto the right hand side, lower arm out straight, in line with the rest of the body. Don't bring it forwards because that'll roll your body forwards. Don't take it too far back because it'll put stress on your shoulder joint. Just rest your head on your bicep, or just put a rolled up towel there if it's more comfortable for you. And your hands can just be fingertips on the mat in front. Shoulders are stacked, hips are stacked, bringing the top leg to hip height, pointing the toe. And on the exhale, we're going to lift to the highest height you can without hitching through your side. So the upper body stays completely in line. So exhaling for 8, 7, 2, 1, and holding at hip height, just holding it there for a second. Just circle your ankles a little bit if you want to, just to loosen them up, and change directions. Just as you hold through hip height, squeezing through that glute to hold that leg there. And we're going to do another 8 leg lifts, squeezing through the glute. This time we're going to pause very slightly at the top for 8. So exhaling to lift, inhale to lower for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Squeeze through that glute to hold at the top. 2, 1. And lowering down to the mat. And bringing the knees out in front and bending the knees to about 90 degrees, about 45 degrees at the hips. Your heels want to be in line with your back. Bringing your hand onto your hip, just use your thumb to go into that top part of your glute and just feel how that's going to engage through this exercise. And we're going to go into clamshells. You want to keep the ball of your toes and your heels together as a hinge for this. So a bit of a variation on these clamshells. We're going to bring the feet up to hip height, and as you extend through, we're going to lift the leg out. But notice nothing else in the body moves. We're lifting the knee as high as it'll go, and then at that point, extend the leg, point the toe, come back to the feet and back down. So exhale. And just flow the breath. Make sure you're exhaling as you initiate, and then just breathe as you need to through the rest of the movement. Exhale to start. Point that toe, really reach through the toe, bring it back. Keeping those feet exactly where they are in space. So the rest of the body is staying stock still. It's just squeezing through this glute, and then as you extend, you squeeze in through the quad to straighten the leg out as much as you can and point the toes. And we're going to do 4, 3, slowing it down, 2, and last one, and back together and down. Just coming down onto the mat, rolling onto your front, and lying flat out, untuck your feet with your forehead down to the mat for now. I'm just turning my head to face you. Just bringing your hands into the small of your back and letting your elbows go, letting your shoulders relax. Clasp your hands very slightly so that you've got a grip on them. And we're going to bring the feet, the legs up to 90 degrees, and facing down to the mat, we're going to exhale on the kick. So it's a pulse breath as you kick your heels towards your glutes for 3, 2, 1, and we're going to reach out, bringing your feet to hip width apart, reaching through the toes, stretching out through the hands, dropping the shoulders back, Keep your eyes down to the ground about a foot in front of you to keep stress off your neck. Lifting through that lower back, squeezing your glutes to lift the legs and lowering back down. Remembering to bring your hands into the small of your back to keep the stress off your shoulders, bending your legs. So now you've seen the exercise, we're going to do 4 more. So feet together at this point and exhale on the kick for 3, 2, 1, and reaching out, bringing the feet to hip width apart for the stretch, dropping those shoulders back, keeping the eyes down to the ground about a foot in front of you. Breathing throughout, holding this for about 8 to 10 seconds and lowering back down and kick for 3, 2, 1, stretching out. Feet come hip width apart, squeezing the glutes, lifting through that lower back, keeping the eyes down to the ground. And lowering down for kick, kick, kick. Second to last one. Reaching out through those toes. Breathing. Don't hold your breath through the hold. Fuel your muscles with the oxygen by breathing. And lowering down to the mat for the last one. Kick, kick, kick. And lifting up, dropping those shoulders back. Really reaching through the toes. Breathing fully. Squeezing through the glutes to lift the legs. Squeezing through the lower back to lift the chest off the mat. Down to the mat, relaxing those elbows off, dropping the feet down to the mat. And we're going to roll through onto the left side. So you just continue to roll through. I'm going to switch so that I'm facing the camera. I'm going to balance out those side leg lifts. So arm out straight. Shoulders are stacked, hips are stacked. They stay that way. Don't roll around with the pelvis. Fingertips on the mat. And just lifting the leg to hip height, pointing the toes, squeezing through the glute and exhale to lift for 8, 7. Just articulating at the hip, not hitching through the side. 2, 1, and just dropping to hip height. Staying at hip height with the leg, just circling through the ankles. Might get a few clicks and cracks through the ankles, a lot of us do. That's totally normal as long as it's not too painful. Breathing and squeezing through that glute to hold the leg at hip height and straight. And this time pausing at the top. You're going as high as you can without hitching through the side, just lifting through this glute and articulating through the hip joint for 8, 7, 6, 2, 1, and lowering down, bringing the feet together, bringing those knees out in front, heels stay about level with your back, and lifting the feet to hip height, keeping them there, keeping them together as a hinge, bringing your hand onto your hip and exhaling to lift the knee and squeezing the quad to extend the leg and back together. The strength is coming from that glute muscle that you've got your thumb on. You'll feel it activating as you lift the leg and point. Exhale to lift. Inhale to come back. You're going to have to, as ever, excuse my counting. I've already lost count. So I'm thinking 4 left. 3. 2. Squeezing through that glute to lift the leg. Squeezing through the quad to extend it. And 1. and down. And rolling through onto your back again. We're going to go into double leg lifts, building up to that final bit of work to finish the session off. So I'm going to bring the feet together, point the toes, and we're going to just lift the heels off the ground, hovering them there, locking in through the core, feeling those hip flexors working. We've warmed those up now, so they should be ready to go. Keeping that pelvis steady so you're not dropping forwards and putting excessive arch in your back, keeping yourself solid. We're going to exhale to lift the legs to 45 and just lower back down. Use your breath, inhaling to come down, exhale to lift, inhale down. Just put a little bit of squeeze on the legs and just feel how that stabilizes you and makes you feel a bit stronger. Just a slight squeeze. You're not really mashing them together, just a bit of pressure. For 4, 3, controlling that upper body, not letting that pelvis go. 2, 1. And just lower down to the mat for a minute. Just let yourself relax, let those feet drop open. So just relax through the hips for a second. And we're going to use that movement and use that strength to go into the roll over. So coming back into that position, hands in by your sides for stability. Try not to press too hard through your hands, but you will be using them for a little bit of stability and strength. Bringing the feet together, we're going to bring them to 45 degrees, point the toes, and as you exhale, we're going to sweep the legs over so that they become parallel to the ceiling over the head. Going to bring the feet about a foot apart and we're going to roll back down through the back with control. Engaging through the core, controlling yourself down through the core, not just with your arms. This exercise can be done with the arms off the mat, so try not to over rely on the arms. This is a core exercise and a back mobility exercise. So exhale and sweep the legs up and over, just to your shoulder blades, no pressure on your head or neck. Feet come about a foot apart and lowering back down to the mat. Sweeping up and over, legs come apart and lowering back down to the mat. We're going to do 2 more after this one. Rolling through the back, using your breath. 2 more. Up and over, about a foot apart and coming back down to the mat. To 45, up and over. And that's the last one, 45 degrees. And just bring your feet down to the mat, keeping your knees bent. Just taking a little bit of stress off for a second. We're going to go into the final exercise of high scissors. So again, that's going to use that movement to get yourself up into the position, and then we're going to kick the legs like scissors. So bringing the feet to 45 again. We're going to sweep up this time, but just stopping short and supporting the back with your hands this time. So you want your body to be at about 45 degrees. You're resting on your shoulder blades, not your head. You should be able to lift your head. You're not putting any pressure on your head or neck. And your ankles should be just about in line with your eyes. Point the toes and keeping the legs straight. We're going to just separate them. And as you exhale, we're going to switch. Keeping the legs straight. The more important leg is this one. Don't bend the knee. Keep the legs straight. And it's about taking this leg away from the body rather than this leg down towards the face. So keeping that leg up where we started, in line with the eyes, we're dropping this leg away. And exhale to switch. 4, 3, 2, 1. Legs together and roll back down to the mat. So bringing the hands down by the sides for now, bringing the feet to 45, pointing the toes, sweeping the legs so the ankles are about above the eyes, supporting the back with your hands and separating the legs. And we're going to exhale to switch for 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Legs together and rolling back down to the mat with control. Last time, one more set of 8. This time we're going to put a pulse in. So it's a double breath out and separate the legs for. So legs to 45, hands by your sides for stability, point the toes, sweep up and over, supporting the back with your hands, separate the legs to start, keeping the legs straight and toes pointed. We're going to double pulse the breath for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, last one, feet together and rolling down to the mat. Just taking time now to relax down onto the mat, relaxing through your upper body, taking some full deep breaths in and full long breaths out. Bringing the knees into your chest, just hugging them in to just let your hips relax, your hip flexors, your abs, your core. Long deep breaths. And in your own time, just coming up to seated. And we're all done. Thanks for joining today. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. Any questions, feedback, comments, as usual, just let me know and I'll get back to you soon. Have a good day and see you soon.